Is Bo Bichette on the Dodgers' radar? Should the Dodgers have Yoshinobu Yamamoto higher on their priority list? And we'll get into a little talk about Japanese culture among the players and if the Dodgers should we rather be waiting for Roki Sasaki instead of all the Japanese players on the market right now. So that's it on tap. So let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with the personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. This is a daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us where we find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to become an everydayer, that's someone that listens or watches every day. All you have to do is listen and watch every day, and you can make that easy on yourself by subscribing wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube and be notified when our episodes are ready for you. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. I'm usually joined by co-host Jeff Snider, but he's out again today, so just me. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans that have watched a lot of Dodger games. We've covered the Dodgers in various capacities. One of those capacities being this podcast. We've, been in the clubhouse, been in the locker room, talked to players, things of that nature. We're not quite insiders, though. We're just here to bring you what we believe is smart and thoughtful and mostly rational takes about the Dodgers and anything surrounding the Dodgers and or baseball. So that's what we're always here to bring you, and hopefully I can bring that to you today. We no news on the Dodgers front over the weekend. No real news in the baseball front in general over the weekend. The Astros are promoting their bench coach Joe Espada to be their manager. And I don't know if we talked Ron Washington. It will be the manager of the Angels. But yeah, other than that, no real news over the weekend. Not even any real true rumors over the weekend. Although we did see a new name mentioned for the Dodgers, which is where we're going to start today. And this comes from an article from Juan Toribio with MLB.com, posted on November 8th. And the headline of the article is Dodgers prep for a winner with the free agent pursuit like no other. But one of the little nuggets in here comes not even in the main part of the paragraph or main part. It comes in the little quick hit section. It's talking about Gavin Lux and how he's continued to progress after surgery and everything else. But the last sentence says the Dodgers, however, will continue to monitor the trade market for a shortstop, mainly Milwaukee's Willy Adames and Toronto's Bo Bichette. Now we've seen Willy Adames linked to the Dodgers, obviously, and we've even talked about it here last week of a potential deal that would bring Adames to the Dodgers. Bo Bichette is not a name we've seen in terms of being linked to the Dodgers or even to the trade market in general. This might be one, wording and semantics is everything. This might be one where he says, we'll continue to monitor the trade market for a shortstop. And then it says mainly Adames and Bo Bichette. So obviously, it doesn't necessarily link the Dodgers to Bo Bichette. But obviously, if he became available on the trade market, the Dodgers would be interested in. And there's, reason to be interested. Bo Bichette offensively is really, really, really good. He's ever since he became a full-time starter in 2021, he led the league and he led the AL in hits in 21 and 22. He's never hit below 290 in his career in the season. He's never OPS under 800 in his career in a season. He's never had an OPS plus under 121 in the big leagues, and that's in 3 full seasons, along with half of 2020 and coming up toward the end of 2019. So Offensively, he's very, very, very good. Defensively, he's mid to okay, which is good enough if that's the offense you're bringing. And in terms of his contract, he has next year he has $12 million or $12 million with salary increases, with top 5 finish and MVP voting this past year, which I don't think he'll get. And then in 2025, he has 17.5 million with the salary increase with top 5 finish and MVP voting in 2023 or 2024. So relatively cheap for 2 years that you'd be getting out of him. Now, the question with Bo Bichette is not should the Dodgers want him? Yeah, the Dodgers should want him. He's good. But it's more a matter of will he become available? And my initial thought was, well, no, the Blue Jays are, made the playoffs last year. They've been on the cusp of the playoffs. They've been in the playoffs 2 years in a row now. They've been on the cusp of the playoffs, 3 years in a row now. They've been building this young team. And, why would they look to trade Bo Bichette? And while that still remains true, and I don't think they'd be looking to trade him, you look at the 2023 Blue Jays and you look at their starting infield or starting lineup in general. Whit Merrifield is now free agent, their second baseman. Matt Chapman, their third baseman, is now free agent. Kevin Kiermaier, their center fielder, is now a free agent. So that's 3 of their guys. 3 of their starting lineup is 1/3 of their starting lineup is going to be free agents, and I don't think that's enough to necessarily, be looking to. Oh, and Brandon Belt, their DH, also a free agent. So 4 of the 9 starters are free agents, and you still have, a solid Alejandro Kirk, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, Dalton Varsho, and George Springer. That's still, solid enough core right there too, along with their starting pitchers, Gausman, Berrios, Bassett. We'll see what happens with Manoah. So the core is generally still there, but it's possible that they could decide, what, we tried it the last couple of years, it didn't quite work out. Maybe we want to do a little bit of a rebuild, and maybe now would be the time. If you have starting pitchers that are solid, now would be the time to see what value they bring on the open market, and maybe you can do a quick little rebuild. Maybe you could do a 2025, 2026 back in it rebuild, and you trade 2 or 3 starting pitchers. You get some major league ready prospects or already in the major talent. And maybe you look at what Bo Bichette looks like on the open market, and that's where it sits possible. I still don't expect it to happen. I would imagine the Blue Jays wouldn't do that to their fans, but hearing it initially and then going and looking at the actual roster, like it is possible. And if the Dodgers are gonna kind of sit and wait, here's where the Dodgers are at, especially at shortstop, which is I guess not enviable, but not the worst spot to be at. If they don't do anything at shortstop, you have Miguel Rojas, who, yes, offensively not great, defensively very great, can handle it. And then you have Gavin Lux, and hoping that his knee surgeries and recoveries all go well. And it's one of those where, like I talked about last week, where when Ronald Acuna Jr. came back from ACL, like you look at his 2022 compared to his 2023, night and day. And he wasn't fully back last year. He would still have days where his knee would be sore. It's not always linear. Like, oh, a torn ACL, out for a year. Yeah, you might be physically out for the year. You can't play, but even when you come back, it doesn't necessarily always mean that you're fully, ready to go and ready to play. You're 100%. You might be 100% while you're on the field, but your recovery is maybe at 75%. Your day-to-day recovery. So I think I'd love to have Bo Bichette in Dodger Blue. I don't think ultimately it's going to happen, but if the Blue Jays do decide to go that route, the Dodgers have more than enough to go and get a guy like Bo Bichette and put him at shortstop and not have to worry about anything else at shortstop. So that's all on Bo Bichette. We have conversations around Japanese culture, Japanese players, kind of what the Dodgers strategy should be this offseason and maybe in the future off seasons. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. We spend a lot of time talking together, us, or mainly me talking and you listening, but maybe sometimes you interact with us. We get fired up with the wins. We get, maybe mad and upset with the losses. Who starts, who sits, who was left in the game too long, who came out too early, things of that nature. But today I want our chat to be a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply on ED medications. What that means is you can, have your ED medications and bring them on extended travel. Bring them on, the next time there's a supply chain issue, you'll have enough. Or the next time there's, a potential natural disaster that slows down the supply chain, you'll have enough of your medications right there for you. You're covered. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your generics for Cialis, Viagra, or Revatio. All you have to do is check out Jase Medical because that's who made this all possible. Go online right now at jasemedical.com to receive your 12-month supply on your daily medication. Remember to use promo code LOCKED ON at checkout for a discount as well. One verified customer had this to say about Jase. I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills and have to have it. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kit. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. So if you or someone you love would like to get some peace of mind by having a year's supply of any daily med, go to jasemedical.com to see if it's offered for you. And remember to use the promo code LOCKED ON for $20 off your purchase. That's jasemedical.com, code LOCKED ON at checkout. Go do it now. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Locked On Dodgers, and make sure to subscribe wherever you find us, whether it's that podcast, wherever you find podcasts, or on YouTube. Remember, SiriusXM has baseball talk all winter. Go check it out. SiriusXM or the SXM app and search their baseball channels. All right, so the next couple segments are gonna all kind of tie together, and it stems from a question we got from Hero. He says, I heard that Japanese players dislike being on the same team for cultural reasons. It's a Hail Mary, but I'd love to see Yamamoto and Ohtani wearing Dodger blue. Thoughts? And then he said, also, is there a reason why the Dodgers aren't putting Yamamoto as a high priority player? We'll start off with Yamamoto specifically, and being not being a high priority player for the Dodgers. We only know what's been reported out there, and what's been reported out there isn't always 100% of what it is. So we don't know necessarily what the Dodgers' priority on Yamamoto is. He hasn't necessarily been linked to the Dodgers as he's been linked to other teams in terms of, Yankees and Mets and, even Giants, uh, or some other teams that have, specifically been linked to Yamamoto. We don't know, what that interest is. We know the Dodgers will have interest. We know for sure, I would imagine they get in on the bidding. It doesn't appear, you would think that we would see the Dodgers linked to them a lot more if it was a priority for them. And like I said, it might be, and they're keeping it on the low. I don't know. But should he be a high priority? If he's not a priority for the Dodgers, should he be? And obviously the Dodgers need starting pitching, and we've talked about this a lot. And this is, it's not the greatest starting pitching free agency ever, but it's very solid. You're gonna have the NL Cy Young, Blake Snell. You're gonna have postseason hero Jordan Montgomery in a different tier. You're gonna have Yamamoto. You're gonna have Imaga, sorry, the guy from the other pitcher from Japan. You have technically Otani, even though he can't pitch in 2024. You have Aaronola, another postseason, type hero type. There's a lot out there for whatever you're looking for in terms of starting pitching. But yeah, I do think Yamamoto, should get a strong look from the Dodgers, and I would imagine they are. I'm assuming they, 25. If a 25-year-old ace was on the market right now, he'd be commanding 200, 250 mil. Garrett Cole got 300 mil. He wasn't 25 when he came. Now, obviously, we don't know how Yamamoto is going to adjust to the big leagues, but you know, we just saw Kodai Senga come over, and he wasn't as good as Yamamoto over there in Japan, and he had a very solid season for the Mets, and we've it's not. There's more of a track record of players coming over from Japan offensively, and maybe struggling a little bit more so than starting pitchers, at least initially. Um, we've seen guy obviously, Nomo, Hiroki Kuroda, those specifically with the Dodgers, but even Dice K was strong when he first came on, maybe struggled a little bit after that. There's been struggles. I'm not gonna say there's not, but there is, a benefit to having a little bit of mystique coming over in terms of guys having faced you to get you through the year, first year, maybe even second year. And then that added on with, okay, learning everything, working on, your pitch selections and everything else to where, you can get by it. And now you're just a normal, regular, MLB starting pitcher. So I think, the Dodgers are going to monitor Yamamoto in terms of what the price is going to be. I don't think they're willing to bank 200 million on Yamamoto, and if the bidding gets up that high, I think they won't be in on it. I think if the bidding remains under 200 million, then the Dodgers will monitor the situation and potentially be in on it. So, it's all going to depend where it goes. It would be interesting if Yamamoto does get the biggest contract of all the pitcher, and it's very possible he does. Like I said, he's 25, and coming off very, very strong numbers coming from Japan. So, and Blake Snell, who would be in theory probably maybe the top free agent in starting pitching, if you don't count Ohtani just because he can't pitch that first year. Snell doesn't get deep into games or is not known for getting deep into games. High pitch count, a lot of swing and miss, but also a lot of walks. So, there's flaws you can find flaws with every top, and you can find flaws with Yamamoto, but it's just a matter of what you consider your priority when you're looking for starting pitching. So, like it's long story short, should Yamamoto be a higher priority for the Dodgers? I think he is a high priority. I think he is in the top tier of priorities, but I think it's more of a monitoring situation rather than a pursuing situation. Again, this is just going based off what we have in terms of reports. I don't have any inside information on this one. I don't know. He might be, 1B to Otani in terms of priority, but they're just not showing it right now, or it's not being reported. They're not letting that leak out, whatever the case is. We don't know, but I can, definitely say that he, you know, depending on what you define priority as, he's either a priority, but maybe not the top one, or he's not a priority, but they're monitoring. Whatever the case is, the Dodgers aren't just going to say, oh, yeah, we don't like him. We're not going to, worry about him, blah, blah, blah. Unless they legitimately seen his stuff and seen his whatever and don't think it will translate. But I highly doubt that's the case. So Yamamoto, definitely on the Dodgers' radar. Just don't know how strong or how much he is on the Dodgers' radar. But this will lend itself into a little conversation about Japanese culture and another potential starting pitcher coming over from Japan. Not this year though, Roki Sasaki, and how the Dodgers have scouted him. So that's what's on tap. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Once again, want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. For not your first listen, that's okay. As long as you listen every single day and become an everydayer. We appreciate everydayers. We appreciate those who listen first thing in the morning. If you're both, we appreciate you even more. But if you're either one of those, we appreciate you regardless. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, or thank you for being an everydayer. And if you're not one of those and you want to be thanked, all you got to do is start listening and watching every day, or making this your first listen. One of the two. So. All right. The other part of that question from Hero was, the reports or of Japanese players not liking being on the same team for cultural reasons, and that combined with an article from the LA Times last week or a couple weeks ago, from Jorge Castillo and Jack Harris talking about Roki Sasaki, who is the young phenom from Japan. They said the Dodgers devoted considerable time to scouting pitching sensation Roki Sasaki this year. Hopeful at one point the right-hander would be posted this winter, according to people with knowledge of the situation. Sasaki, however, is not expected to be available for MLB clubs this offseason. And realistically, Roki Sasaki won't be posted until after the 2026 season. MLB posting rules for foreign-born players: you have to have at least 6 professional seasons or be at least 25 years old in order to be eligible for free agency without any restrictions. Um, Now, Sasaki could go the route of Ohtani, who was posted before he had 6 seasons or was 25 years old, but it's not an open market. And Ohtani, if Sasaki waits till after 2026, he's just a free agent. Anybody can sign him for as much money as they want. If him and his team end up posting him before that, he's kind of like an international free agent where he can only get so much money, and he, has to be under team control and go through arbitration and all that. So it's not Ohtani didn't care about that. He wanted to come play in the major leagues, and he only got, I think, 2.3 million signing bonus from the Angels. And then now he's going to be able to cash in, but he had to wait 6 seasons before being able to cash in, or however many seasons it's been. Where Sasaki, I don't know what his thoughts are in terms of, do I want to make more money in 3 years, or do I want to get to the big leagues, worry about it, and then hopefully have a chance for a payday later. We don't know. But the question of for Sasaki that kind of was brought up in this article as well is that saying, or that whatever the thought is, I don't know if it's rooted in you know how like I always talk about speaking in absolutes, and I don't like speaking in absolutes on things I don't know, and this is something that I don't know. Now, the reports from multiple reporters, multiple articles over the years has always said that there's an understanding that Japanese stars often prefer not to play on the same major league clubs as other Japanese stars. So ultimately, the article kind of became with like, if you sign Ohtani or Yamamoto, does that prevent you from getting Roki Sasaki? And we don't know. Obviously, we I know Japanese players are all about respect and everything else, and I would imagine that's where this kind of stems from. That I don't know what other reasons there would be other than the respect, or maybe if Japanese players feel like they spread themselves among different teams, then there's more exposure for everyone, and for the Japanese players in general, and for you know whatever the case, leagues to be interested in having airing more games in Japan. I don't know exactly. Again, and these are all reports and understandings and thoughts and things of that nature. I don't know if a player's ever straight up came out and said it, but But yeah, and I remember when the LA Times article came out about Sasaki, and there was some fans, or I saw some tweets, basically saying like, oh, there are Dodgers already kicking the can down the road in case they don't get Ohtani. Say, oh, we're waiting for Sasaki type deal, and moving goalposts or whatever, kicking the can down the line, moving goalpost, whatever you want to call it, in terms of like preparing for them to not get Ohtani. And hey, maybe, I don't know where this article originally stemmed from. Did the LA Times have the idea of writing this article, and then they got the information of Dodgers scouting Sasaki and everyone else? Were the Dodgers scouting Sasaki and people saw that, and then this article came? Did the Dodgers say, hey, LA Times, I don't. To me, if you're saying like, oh, the Dodgers are kind of building this up to be in case you don't get Ohtani, but look, here's something else we might get in a few years. You know, I highly doubt the Dodgers are calling up LA Times and saying, hey, we're scouting this guy. If you want to get fans excited about the future in case we don't get Ohtani. I highly doubt it, but you never know. The inner workings of everything in terms of running a team and PR and everything else is much deeper than even I would know. So when it comes to the culture of Japanese players not wanting to play with each other, like I said, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if that's an outdated thing. Most of the time players wait till they're able to be posted and they come. Ohtani didn't do that. So does Ohtani buck trends? Like, does he say, I don't care who I play with, I want to play with the best players? Especially coming off like the World Baseball Classic win where they were all on the same team and they won. And it's just like, look, like, why wouldn't you want to be on the same team as, the guy that helped you win? And how far does it extend? Does it only come from players that, started their careers in Japan and then came over? Is like a guy like Lars Nootbaar. He was on, Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic. He's not a star in the sense of he's, not the most highly known player. I don't even think he's an all-star, or if he's a borderline all-star, if that. But he was, one of the starting 9 on Japanese WBC team, which would consider him a star in Japan, realistically. So, how far does that bar extend? I don't know. I do think that when it comes down to it, I just, unless it's something that's, like I said, a culture or handed down from like some place in Japan, or bring shame to you as like, I don't know what it could be. But if the Dodgers signed Ohtani and said, hey, we're going to sign Yamamoto, like, would Yamamoto say no? Would Ohtani say, oh, I don't want that to happen? Like, Ohtani wouldn't have much say. Yamamoto would have a little more say, obviously, in that scenario because he would be the free agent. And the other part is, like, when it comes to for Sasaki specifically, like, the Dodgers could sign Ohtani, could sign Yamamoto. And in 3 years, when Sasaki can get posted without restrictions, who knows where Yamamoto is? Maybe Yamamoto doesn't pan out in the majors. Maybe Ohtani, gets injured again on his arm, and it's turned into just a hitter at that point. And does it matter, hitter pitcher? Like, can one MLB team have a Japanese superstar hitter and a Japanese superstar pitcher? I don't know. But I don't think that there's some conspiracy out here to kind of distract fans from saying, okay, well, if you don't get Ohtani now or Yamamoto, we're all in on Roki Sasaki whenever he comes through, because yeah, that's 3 years from now, or 3 seasons from now. You got to go 24 season, 25 season, 26 season before that even possibility. I just don't think is that deep. I do think that they potentially, after World Baseball Classic and after another great year, they thought, you know what, maybe Sasaki forces the hand of his team to post him. And if they do, we want to, have our due diligence done to know what we want and go from there. So I do think that's mainly what all this stems from in terms of them scouting him. And, they're not the only team scouting him, and they won't be the only team scouting him over the next couple of years, assuming he stays over there until his posting restrictions are out. So that is all on that. long way of saying that, Yoshinobu Yamamoto should be a priority for the Dodgers. I think he will be. I think they're just going to monitor how much he's going to make. I don't think signing Shohei Ohtani or Yamamoto will take them out of any runnings for Roki Sasaki down the line. And I do think that if there's one team to try and force the issue when it comes to, this understanding or this culture among Japanese players, I think the Dodgers would be, one of the teams that would be granted that, in terms of just the past and having a history with players from overseas and things of that nature. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's always the end game here. We can't speak in absolutes. We can only say what we think, or what the process looks like. But ultimately, we have no idea, or I have no idea, at least, because this could all change tomorrow if the Dodgers sign Ohtani and Yamamoto, and then this the whole conversation just kind of becomes, well, there you go. Maybe it wasn't quite what you thought. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube. All you got to do is search for Locked On Dodgers. You can become an everydayer by listening or watching every day. It's easiest by subscribing, and then you're notified when our episodes are ready, and then you can listen or watch when you're notified or anytime you have free time. SiriusXM or the SXM app can help you find baseball talk all off season and then into next season. And remember, you can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snider. I'm at Vincent91. You can DM either of us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, text my device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.